To start off, we are looking at European encounters in the Americas, which begins in 1491, a year that represents the world before European contact. This period extends to 1607, which marks the establishment of Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement in North America. During this period, we see the complex societies that existed in the Americas prior to European arrival, the initial voyages of exploration, and the cultural, economic, and demographic transformations that resulted from sustained contact. Understanding this period is essential because it sets the foundation for labor systems, colonial economies, and intercultural interactions, all of which are frequently tested on AP exams through SACs, LEQs, and DBQs. One of the most significant events often highlighted is the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492. While Columbus is popularly credited with discovering the Americas, it is important to note that he was not the first European to reach North America. The Norse, or Vikings, had established temporary settlements in what is now modern-day Canada around the year 1000, nearly 500 years earlier. However, Columbus's voyages were the first to result in sustained contact between Europe and the Americas, which historians call the contact period. This period involved continuous interaction, trade, conquest, and the introduction of diseases between Europe and the Americas, ultimately transforming both continents politically, economically, and socially. Long before Europeans arrived, the Americas were already populated. The first peoples arrived thousands of years earlier by crossing the Bering land bridge, a land connection between Siberia in modern Russia and Alaska. During the Ice Age, much of the planet's water was locked up in glaciers, causing sea levels to drop and exposing this bridge. As the climate warmed, glaciers melted, sea levels rose, and the bridge was submerged, forming what is now the Bering Strait. The peoples who crossed this bridge eventually spread throughout North and South America, forming the diverse indigenous societies that Europeans would later encounter. Before European arrival, North America was home to millions of Native Americans, living in hundreds of distinct tribes with unique cultures, economies, and political systems. Some societies, particularly in the Southwest, Mississippi River Valley, and along the Atlantic seaboard, developed permanent agricultural settlements, often centered on maize cultivation. This allowed for economic development, population growth, and urbanization. For example, in the Southwest, the Pueblo peoples built multi-storied adobe structures and intricate irrigation systems, while in the Mississippi River Valley, the Mississippian culture constructed large ceremonial mounds that demonstrated political and religious organization. Along the Northwest coast, indigenous groups relied on fishing, whaling, and gathering, producing complex societies with totem poles, sophisticated canoes, and permanent coastal villages. Meanwhile, in the Great Plains, the environment favored a nomadic lifestyle, with tribes primarily hunting buffalo and moving seasonally rather than engaging in permanent agriculture. When Europeans arrived, cultural clashes were inevitable. Europeans brought a worldview shaped by Christianity, private land ownership, and hierarchical social structures. In contrast, Native Americans viewed land as a communal resource essential for life, maintained spiritual relationships with the natural world, and organized society through kinship networks rather than formalized hierarchies. These differences caused misunderstandings and conflicts that would persist for centuries. Native Americans resisted European colonization through both armed conflict and strategic alliances, but their populations were also devastated by Old World diseases, such as smallpox, which killed up to 90% of some communities, weakening their ability to resist European expansion. European exploration was fueled by technological advances and political ambitions. The development of the caravel, a small, maneuverable ship, allowed longer transatlantic voyages. Columbus, funded by the Spanish crown, set sail in 1492 with 3 caravels, aiming to reach Asia. Instead, he landed in the Caribbean, where he encountered the Taino people, renamed their island San Salvador, and claimed it for Spain. His voyage pleased the Spanish monarchy and initiated what became known as the Age of Exploration, during which European nations, primarily Spain, Portugal, France, and later England explored the Americas for wealth, religious conversion, and national prestige. One of the most transformative consequences of European contact was the Columbian Exchange, the transatlantic flow of plants, animals, people, and diseases. Europe introduced horses, pigs, wheat, rice, and grapes to the Americas, transforming Native American economies and environments. The Americas, in return, exported maize, potatoes, tomatoes, chocolate, and other crops to Europe, which stimulated population growth and economic development. However, the exchange was not neutral. Europeans also brought smallpox, measles, and influenza, which decimated indigenous populations. Spain quickly established dominance in the Americas, founding coastal towns in Central and South America and the Caribbean. Conquistadors extracted wealth and labor from native populations through conquest and coercive systems, such as the Encomienda, which granted colonists authority over indigenous labor in exchange for the promise to provide protection and Christian instruction. Although framed as a mutually beneficial system, it functioned as a form of slavery, leading to significant abuse and mortality. Labor needs also drove the early development of the transatlantic slave trade. Initially, colonies relied on indentured servants and enslaved Native Americans, but native populations were difficult to control because they knew the land and were highly vulnerable to European diseases. By the early 16th century, enslaved Africans became the primary labor source in Spanish and later English colonies. Africans were forcibly brought from diverse regions, making communication and escape more difficult. Europeans rationalized slavery through emerging racial ideologies, associating blackness with servitude and inferiority. The Middle Passage, the transatlantic voyage, was notoriously brutal. 1/5 of enslaved Africans died en route. The arrival of enslaved Africans reshaped New World societies socially, economically, and culturally, as Africans blended traditions with European influences, forming new cultural practices, religions, and communities. As Spain claimed much of the Americas, other European powers, France, the Netherlands, and England, began exploring and settling. France focused on fur trade and missionary work, often integrating into indigenous networks through intermarriage and cultural exchange. English settlers, in contrast, tended to bring entire families and create permanent agricultural settlements, as seen in Jamestown, 1607. Early Jamestown settlers faced starvation and disease, surviving only with continuous resupply from England. John Rolfe's introduction of tobacco cultivation as a cash crop transformed Virginia's economy, incentivizing the development of plantation slavery and land expansion. The Headright System was introduced to attract settlers by granting land for each new arrival, while the House of Burgesses, 1619, established the first representative government in English North America. By 1607, the Americas had already become a complex mosaic of Native American societies, European colonizers, and enslaved Africans, each interacting through cooperation, conflict, adaptation, and resistance. These dynamics: land use, labor systems, cultural exchange, disease, and political institutions set the stage for all future colonial developments, making this period essential for understanding the foundations of the United States.